Have you ever felt like your finances just aren't where they should be, no matter how hard you try? What if I told you that God has already given you the keys to unlock a life of abundance, but you might be overlooking the signs? Sometimes the blessings we're praying for are right in front of us, but we're too focused on the wrong things. Today, we're diving into some powerful divine signs that God is using to guide you toward financial prosperity. Don't miss out on the breakthrough that's meant for you. Stay with me, because these signs could change everything about the way you approach your finances, your future, and your faith. Many of us dream of financial freedom, the ability to live comfortably without worry, to help others, and to live out the purpose God has for us. But what if I told you that the financial breakthrough you've been praying for isn't as distant as you think? What if the signs have been in front of you all along, waiting for you to notice? God's plan for your finances isn't always as obvious as a sudden miracle. Often, it's hidden in the small, everyday moments and decisions we make. We tend to think that God's blessings come in the form of an immediate influx of cash or a large, unexpected gift. But the truth is, His financial blessings often come through subtle signs, opportunities, and quiet moments of guidance that require us to have faith and patience. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. He went through immense hardship before receiving his position of power and influence in Egypt. He faced rejection, false accusations, and imprisonment. But through all of this, God had a greater plan for him, one that involved financial abundance, not just for himself, but for the entire nation. Joseph didn't see the full picture at the time, but he trusted that God was with him every step of the way. His breakthrough came in God's perfect timing. God works in the same way in our lives. His plan is rarely an overnight transformation. Instead, He leads us step by step, providing opportunities and wisdom along the way. The question is, are you paying attention? Are you open to seeing the blessings God is trying to bring into your life right now? Take a moment and think about your own life. Have you been overlooking the signs of financial blessings God has already placed before you? Is there an opportunity, an idea, or a connection that you've dismissed as insignificant? What if that was God's way of inviting you into a new season of financial abundance? In the coming chapters, we'll dive deeper into how you can recognize these hidden blessings and align yourself with God's financial plan for your life. As we begin to recognize God's hidden blessings, we must also understand that His financial plan requires us to be faithful stewards of what we have. It's not enough to simply wait for a breakthrough. We must take responsibility for what God has already entrusted to us. Our actions today will determine how we are prepared for the blessings He has in store for us tomorrow. The Bible teaches us that stewardship is a key principle when it comes to financial blessings. In the parable of the talents, Matthew 25:14-30, Jesus tells the story of a master who entrusts his servants with various amounts of money before going on a journey. 2 of the servants wisely invested what was given to them and doubled their portion, while one servant buried his talent out of fear. When the master returned, he praised the 2 servants who had invested wisely, saying, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your master." Matthew 25:21. But to the servant who buried his talent, he said, "You wicked and lazy servant." Matthew 25:26. The lesson here is clear. God rewards those who are faithful with what they have. If we are to receive His financial blessings, we must show faithfulness in the small things, whether it's a modest paycheck, a small business, or even our time and talents. God doesn't expect us to wait idly for wealth to fall from the sky. He expects us to act, to manage well what He has given us, and to trust Him with the outcome. Faith plays a critical role in this process. We must believe that God will provide for us even when things are tight, and that He is faithful to fulfill His promises. Sometimes this means stepping out in faith, even when the financial future seems uncertain. Just like the widow in 1 Kings 17:8-16, who gave her last bit of food to the prophet Elijah, God calls us to trust Him with the little we have. He honors our faith and multiplies it in ways we can't imagine. Take a moment to reflect. How are you managing the resources God has already entrusted to you? Are you being a faithful steward of your finances, your time, and your talents? Are you actively seeking ways to honor God in your financial decisions? Remember, faithfulness today opens the door to greater blessings tomorrow. As we reflect on being faithful stewards and recognizing God's plan, we must confront the reality that many of us are unknowingly missing the signs God is sending. It's easy to focus on what we don't have or on the immediate struggles we're facing. But often, God's provision comes in ways that challenge us to think differently, to take bold steps, and to trust in His timing. Consider the rich man in Luke 16:19-31, a story that reveals the dangers of ignoring God's signs. The rich man lived a life of luxury, while Lazarus, a poor beggar, sat at his gate. Despite the obvious need right in front of him, the rich man ignored Lazarus. When both men died, the rich man found himself in torment, while Lazarus was comforted. The message is clear. We often miss the opportunities God gives us because we are focused on our own comfort, wealth, or fears. The rich man had everything he could want but failed to see the importance of being generous or faithful with what he had. Sometimes we do the same with our finances. We see an opportunity to invest in someone else, whether it's helping a family member, contributing to a cause, or even taking a step of faith in a new business venture, but we hesitate. We worry about the risk, the uncertainty, and the sacrifice. And in doing so, we miss out on the very blessing God intended for us. The signs that God is ready to bless us often require us to step out of our comfort zone. These signs may come in the form of opportunities to give, to serve, or to trust God in new ways. But if we are not paying attention, or if we are focused on our own fears, we risk missing these divine moments. Ask yourself, what are the signs God has been showing you in your life? Are you noticing the opportunities He's placed in front of you, or are you too focused on your own doubts and insecurities? Take a moment to reflect. Have you been ignoring the divine invitations to trust God more with your finances? Recognizing and embracing God's signs is the key to unlocking His financial blessings. In the next chapter, we will explore one of the most powerful ways to receive those blessings, through generosity. Generosity is one of the most powerful principles in God's financial plan. It might seem counterintuitive. How can giving away what we have lead to more? But throughout the Bible, we see time and again that God rewards those who are generous with their resources, whether it be money, time, or talents. It's a principle that goes beyond just finances. It's about the heart. When we give with an open heart, we position ourselves to receive God's abundance in return. 2 Corinthians 9:6-7 tells us, "Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously." Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. The Apostle Paul makes it clear that generosity is not just about the amount, but about the attitude with which we give. It's about sowing into God's kingdom with faith, trusting that He will multiply what we have given for His glory and for our benefit. Think about the story of the widow's offering in Mark 12:41-44. Jesus observed as people gave large sums of money, but He praised the widow who gave just 2 small coins, all she had to live on. Her generosity was not in the size of her gift, but in her faith and willingness to trust God with everything. She believed that by giving to God, she was sowing into something much greater than herself. And because of her faith, Jesus highlighted her as an example of true generosity. Generosity is not limited to the rich or the financially comfortable. In fact, it's often in the most challenging financial circumstances that we see the most incredible displays of generosity. It's when we feel we have nothing to give that God calls us to trust Him and give anyway. Whether it's helping a friend in need, donating to a cause, or giving your time and energy to someone else, generosity opens the door to God's blessings. Consider this: how can you be more generous today? It doesn't always have to involve money. Maybe you have time to volunteer or a skill you can offer someone in need. The key is to be willing to give freely, knowing that God will provide for your needs in return. As we move forward in this journey, remember that the act of giving is not just about receiving material blessings. It's about growing in faith and trusting that God will multiply your offerings in ways you can't even imagine. As we continue our journey through God's financial plan, we come to one of the most important lessons: trusting in His timing. This is often the hardest part, isn't it? We live in a world where everything is fast-paced, where instant gratification is the norm. We want the answers now, the breakthrough now, and the blessings now. But God's ways are not our ways, and His timing is perfect. The Bible is full of stories where God's timing was key to unlocking greater blessings. One of the most profound examples is the story of Abraham and Sarah. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations, but for years there was no sign of this promise being fulfilled. In fact, Abraham and Sarah were well past childbearing age. They had to wait and trust in God's perfect timing. And though they were tempted to take matters into their own hands, their faith was rewarded when Isaac, the promised son, was born. Genesis 17:15-19. God's timing can be difficult to understand, especially when we feel like we're doing everything right, and yet our financial situation doesn't seem to improve. But just like Abraham, we must trust that God's promises are never delayed. They are simply unfolding according to His will. The psalmist reminds us in Psalm 27:14, "Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." It's not easy to wait, especially when it comes to our finances. But God is teaching us patience, perseverance, and trust in His plans. In the waiting, He is shaping us, preparing us for what's to come. When we trust in His timing, we allow Him to do the work He needs to do in us and through us. In the world, waiting can feel like wasted time, but with God, waiting is a time of preparation. He's preparing us to handle the blessings that He's about to pour into our lives. And when that time comes, it will be far better than anything we could have imagined on our own. Think about your own financial journey. Are you waiting on God's timing? Are you trusting Him even when things don't seem to be moving as quickly as you'd like? Remember, His timing is perfect. He is working behind the scenes, and when the time is right, you will see the manifestation of His blessings in your life. As we come to the end of this journey through God's financial plan, it's important to remember that the path to financial blessings is not just about receiving wealth, but about aligning ourselves with God's will and trusting His perfect timing. The signs of His blessings are all around us, but it takes faith to recognize them and the courage to act on them. God is inviting us into a deeper relationship with Him through our finances. He's not just interested in providing for us. He's interested in shaping our hearts, teaching us stewardship, generosity, and trust. When we are faithful with what He has given us, we position ourselves to receive even more. But this process requires us to listen to the signs He's showing us and trust in His plan for our lives. Remember the lessons from this journey. Recognize the hidden blessings, be faithful with what you have, and embrace generosity. Trust in God's perfect timing, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Know that behind the scenes, God is working on your behalf, preparing you for the financial breakthrough that is just around the corner. As you open your eyes to the signs and act in faith, you will unlock the financial blessings that God has already prepared for you. It's not about getting rich, but about living abundantly in alignment with His will. It's about trusting Him to take what little we have and multiply it into something far greater than we could ever imagine. If this message has touched your heart, I encourage you to take action today. Reflect on the signs God is showing you in your life. What small step can you take to act on what you've learned? And as you do, I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What are the signs God has revealed to you? How has your faith been challenged by this message? Don't forget to like this video if it spoke to you, and subscribe for more inspiring content on how to live in alignment with God's financial plan. Let's walk this journey of faith together. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.